Hello everybody, welcome to the Level 1 News. Today is August 3rd, and today we're doing social and government. Not in that order. And we have more orange soda! Woohoo! Hopefully the mics sound better this week too.
Yeah, I knew. It's German. This is the German, the care package from Germany. It's cold. It wasn't cold last week.
There's probably some kind of rule in Germany. You know how they have those beer purity laws? It's probably some kind of rule you can't put a twist off on it.
Yeah, it's not a twist off. But I knew it wasn't going to be, so I brought my handy thing.
What's the source of this one?
I
mean, who sent it?
Oh, I don't remember.
I can't remember the name. I want to say it started with a D. Dustin, maybe? That's not right. I can see the letter, but I cannot remember the name.
They even commented last week, there's like, you better drink that, it goes bad soon. It doesn't go bad until January 22nd, 2022.
I have his message on Patreon.
So then
I will put it in the comments.
We are to assume that there are some natural ingredients in this one, if it's going to go bad.
Probably orange soda. Well, the label's in German, so.
37 kcal, 156 kilojoules.
These are all moon units.
You know, it doesn't. If it has ingredients, looks like mineral Wasser. Pretty sure that's water. Orange and soft. Orange and Zucker, sugar. Okay, so there's sugar in there.
Real sugar.
I don't know what those other things are. Stabilizer. Yeah, no, I don't know.
It's probably preservative.
Oh, it smells like a fresh orange.
They started to throw that in a mug, which would be great for our branding, but like the pleasure of drinking a soda out of a glass bottle.
This is carbonated orange juice.
I've never thought about whether or not I would want carbonated orange juice.
That'd be good.
Do you like it more than regular orange juice?
I definitely do. I don't know if I like this. Is okay. I know the goal is orange soda, but you've taken it to literally. This is literally orange soda.
But it's got the sugar, added sugar in it.
Yeah. Well, because regular orange soda would be super tart.
It's as acidic and tart as orange juice, like the fresh squeezed orange juice, like the good stuff. But it's got that little bit of sugar kick after it.
Is this sit on your porch with a sundae, or is this like drink for fun?
This is probably like a mid-afternoon snack.
I can't do soda as a snack.
Could you do that with breakfast?
It probably would be unsatisfying for breakfast. It would almost, if they toned the carbonation down by half, maybe if you did half and half with this and regular orange juice, like the fresh, like the pulp in orange juice, half and half with this would probably be really good for breakfast.
Or if you put a little vodka in there.
Yeah, that's a mimosa, yeah.
This actually probably would be really good if you're going to spike your drink with the carbonation, because you get that evaporative alcohol effect maybe. That'd probably be good.
All right. Well, that's good for everybody who has access to that, which is probably a very low percentage of the audience.
Coming up, we've also got Virgil's Zero Sugar Orange Cream. I didn't know you could do orange cream without any sugar, and Diet Fago.
I think we've already tried Diet Fago, didn't we?
Oh, regular Fago.
Oh, so we found Diet.
I
Okay.
think it was regular.
No, it was Diet. I wouldn't have bought regular.
Oh, yeah, it might be one of the ones you bought. This one came, I don't recognize the can.
No, I got the big jug of Diet Fago.
Oh, okay.
That's a can version.
Well, we'll try it.
But we've
Did
seen
we
it
ever
before.
do Orange L8? I found some. We have
It's
some.
in there.
It's in the fridge.
There's one
Okay.
in there.
Yeah.
We'll try that sometime.
We have a backlog. There's a number of very generous people. Thank you.
Send us orange sodas.
Thank you, kind patron, who has sent us orange sodas.
Some people are just drop shipping stuff, and it has to be at extreme shipping costs.
Yeah.
Because these drinks ship really expensive.
Thank you,
And
guys.
they get a little, look at that one, the Virgil's. It's got a little, no, the other one. It's got a little lump up there on top. No, the other one.
Oh, yeah. That has happened a couple of times, too. So if you send us stuff and it's like, when are they ever going to drink it? There's a few things that we're not going to be able to drink because it came in an empty container and was destroyed. I'm so sorry. One of the boxes downstairs has a shipping manifest from somewhere in Europe, and it was like 130 euros to get it here. So thank you.
Yeah, wow.
That can went to the barber, and he was like, just make me a bad capacitor, fam.
They'll get it. Don't worry. And it's just like, But still, for the can not to leak, even though I would characterize that as a nearly catastrophic failure.
Yeah, pretty good structural integrity at Virgil's.
Neat. We also owe Linode one more sponsorship.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So Linode is
Did we
your,
forget one? Oh no, this is
This is the beginning of a new
Yeah.
month, yeah.
So we're doing the Devember thing. Definitely check that out. But Linode has got all kinds of new tutorials with all of your favorite YouTubers doing all kinds of stuff. We did one on WireGuard, but you can get $100 credit before if you've never signed up with them. And you can build your own VPN, your own file server, your own book server. You can get off of Google Drive. It's pretty awesome stuff. Level up, new skills, job things.
You need them.
Roll your own Amazon because you can do block object storage. And it's really pretty great. You should check it out. We've used Linode for years and years and years, even before they sponsored us. Like a decade before they sponsored us, because Linode's awesome.
But not a day after. No, I'm just joking.
We did use them.
Well, that's structural integrity, business integrity, but there's no integrity here because this is the White House. However, they are saying something that will probably be good news to most of your ears, but you do have to take it with a grain of salt like everything else.
The White House touts broadband part of a new infrastructure deal. It will deliver high speed to every American, President Joe Biden said Wednesday. All right, here's the short version. It's only $65 billion in a $500 billion spending package, so it's kind of a drop in the bucket, first off. Second of all, the benchmark here is 100 megabit by 25 megabit, which would be great in like 2017. But this is 2021. 100 megabit by 25 megabit might as well be 1 by 3 that we have now.
And yet, I don't believe it. I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
So, yeah, it's they've lowered the bar, and they will fail to reach it, as they have so many times in the past.
And sadly, it will be companies like Elon Musk's Starlink that bring us something better than that. And that is in what universe does it make sense that we deploy a network of satellites around the planet to give us internet when we already paid for a fiber optic network?
And we're going to pay for it again.
Yeah.
To the tune of $65 billion.
Meanwhile, our crumbling electrical and water infrastructure is like, please.
Well, I think that is where most of that
Yeah.
money's supposed to go, right? The roads and all that.
Hopefully they
Bridges.
actually use that.
I'm sure
but-
it won't be pork projects and waste. That never happens.
We put a 4-lane highway into a community with 65 residents.
Or that hill that we saw in London. What was that called? So we did a
mounds.
podcast
The
yesterday.
mound, yeah.
There's like a mound of dirt in London that's like a tourist attraction.
Well, there's
It's
a
like,
building inside of it.
Is that even open to the public though?
Yeah, but I think you could just go inside and there's nothing in there.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything. That was
Make
the
it
big
make
thing.
sense.
But you can say I went to the mountain. They probably got some T-shirts, right?
Yeah. We
Maybe.
think, by the way, we did a test recording and we think I sound good, if a little hollow. But some of you have been complaining about too much bass anyway, so we'll see.
Also, the microphone has always been there, but now we've just made it obvious.
Yeah.
Here
Wendell
it is.
always had his own mic. It was just usually slightly out of frame, but hopefully this is
It's
better.
perhaps closer now than it has been.
Last week was maybe a bad cable, but this audio setup has always been just a nightmare.
And see, what's crazy is this is the same exact setup that I use when it's just me. So I don't know. It's fine.
So the White House, among spending trillions and trillions of dollars that we don't have, are also pointing the accusatory finger.
The White House calls on America's most critical companies to improve cyber defenses. See, this is, I mean, how are you so dysfunctional? Because the reason our cyber defenses suck is because businesses don't want to spend money on cyber defense because it's unglorious. It's like the EPA, environmental regulations. What do you mean we can't just dump our excess lead and arsenic into the water table? That's going to cost us a lot of money to deal with.
So when they say calls on companies to improve it, did they actually like threaten consequences, or is it like, please actually pay attention to that, please?
I think the wording they used was non-binding.
Yeah.
So
So
no
worth
teeth.
nothing? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely optional and just a headline, basically.
Garbage.
Yeah.
It's literally cheaper to just deal with the fallout than to do it right the whole time. And it's just like, I'll gamble, and it's like, it doesn't work. We'll just fold the company and sell all the assets and start again.
Time for consequences.
That is a different kind of societal structural problem that malware is just a symptom of, not a disease.
Well, we know where the disease is. And that big pool of money is, the vultures are all circling around. They're just waiting for it to take its last breath so they can descend on it and start eating away at its eyes and innards. And they've already started pecking at one another up there circling.
U.S. senators urged barring Huawei, ZTE, and others from a $1.9 trillion government funding measure. So, this may seem obvious, but what actually happens in government contracting a lot of the time is like, suppose that there was an award for a company to upgrade the cellular infrastructure around here, like Bob's Cellular. And Bob's Cellular is going to eventually sell to AT&T and Verizon and other companies. What this would do is not really ban direct sales from those companies, which, they're already in the ban list. They're already on the naughty list in other ways. But it would also prevent, Bob's infrastructure, who might get the local contract to deploy that, from buying that equipment to fill the contract, which is still happening in a lot of cases.
You basically don't want any of that hardware anywhere on the network. If it came from that money. But, they don't want it at all. But definitely not if that money pays for it.
It's like the old aluminum wiring stuff. It's like, oh, does this house have aluminum wiring? Yeah, it's like, well, you're going to want to replace that with copper before it burns down. Or at least downrate it.
In this case, instead of burning down, you will radicalize it as communist. Anything that touches it. Any other network piece of equipment will start talking about workers' rights.
If you don't give us some names to turn into kidney harvest, we're going to harvest your kidneys. It's like, oh, no.
So they'll probably get away with that because, it's like that's a slam dunk in government. And the real reason they're probably doing it is to get their version of the contract to the right people who will adhere to that. And Amazon, we know, is really kicking up their efforts to bring more police into the fold when it comes to Ring, and to get Ring out there in as many places as they can. We know how bad it is. You know how bad it is. But do the normies? Well, some people are trying to tell them.
48 advocacy groups calling the FTC to ban Amazon surveillance. The open letter uses Amazon as a case study to argue that corporate surveillance technologies cause immense harm and fall under the FTC's authority to ban. Where were they 5 years ago? Were they watching the Level 1 news 5 years ago? We've been reporting on this. This is not going to be... They're going to drive this kind of thing more underground. This is definitely not going away.
I bet it took this long for Ring doorbells to move into, like, Malibu and the Hamptons. And some people are like, wait a minute. You mean I spent $20 million and I don't get any privacy? Because there's somebody across the street? No, you can't do that. Can't do that. Well, one way that we can deal with this whole video card shortage, easy. Why didn't we come up with this sooner? Just don't allow people to own certain cards. That works, right?
Dell is canceling Alienware gaming PC shipments to several U.S. states. Orders placed in California, Hawaii, and 4 other states will not be honored because of power consumption regulations. So this has been done to death. This is a little bit clickbait, but this has to do with idle power consumption requirements. Basically, when you have a device that's off but not doing anything, you're not allowed to consume a whole bunch of power because a bunch of people have a bunch of computers not doing anything. That's kind of a big deal. It turns out that computers, DIY computers and some other kinds of computers are exempt from this. It's really just consumer electronics.
So the only one of the Aurora R12 that you can get is the bottom basement configuration, which is the i5 with the GTX 1650.
And that's only because of the idle and standby current.
And anything better than that, can't have it. Now you can still just buy the parts, which makes this absolutely stupid. But
thanks, California.
Is this the same state whose grid fails repeatedly every summer and they don't fix it?
Yeah.
It's like, couldn't you just put some money toward fixing the grid?
No, we need you to use crappier computers.
Because what percentage of Californians do you think that affects? Less than 1, right?
Yeah.
Probably more than you might think, though, because of Silicon Valley and stuff. Like, there's probably more tech.
But those people
there.
aren't buying Alienwares.
That's true.
Most of them, I don't know. I'd say most Silicon Valley hipsters just buy Macs, right?
This is a problem that's been known to manufacturers for a long time. There have been options creeping into the BIOS, like California ERP compliance, or sometimes it's just called ERP ready, and you turn that on, and it basically just underclocks everything, so it'll pass the regulation. And then when you get the computer, the first thing is like, turn that off.
Are we going to get into one of the where you can make your own guns, where they start selling a kit?
It's the ERP off kit. Yeah, it's like we ship it and then take it out of the box, and then definitely don't do this.
You know how sometimes they'll just put the plastic tab in between the contacts and the battery? Could you do a system like that?
Yeah, it's like don't remove. It's like the old wine prohibition. It's like, don't put this brick in a jug of water for a month, because then it would be wine.
That's shocking. Shocking how sometimes California just makes those decisions arbitrarily.
There was 5 other states too. It wasn't just them.
Yeah, but they're just, copying. At least California always does it first. That's one thing you can give them.
And Hawaii.
And California, I believe, is one of the states who is not happy that they got ruled against, and they have all claimed we are not yet done fighting.
States say they will appeal the dismissal of their Facebook antitrust suit. Why was the suit dismissed in the first place? Because the states failed to prove that Facebook had a monopoly on social media.
Which they don't, but it doesn't. I don't think that takes away the rest of the argument. They're still doing damage to the world, right? That's provable. These teens can't wait to kill themselves.
I was going to say Facebook is more like enabling, there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there are a lot of inquisitive idiots.
But you're hanging your hat on personal responsibility, and we're so far beyond that. I mean, why even bring it up anymore?
How do we get back there? Like, where's the path back to increased personal responsibility from here?
You let real bad things happen to people when they do stupid things instead of nerfing everything, and we don't tolerate that anymore. So here we are. And one thing that, if you have problems, it is almost universally fixable if you can pour enough money onto it. There's some medical issues that are not quite that way. I don't know. A lot of really rich people get sick, and then later you're like, hey, whatever happened to that chronic disease that they had? They seem fine now. And everybody's just like, well, I don't know. Don't worry about it. And but this man is uniquely capable of solving any problem this way, and it seems like he's ready to just be like, all right, I'm all in.
Bezos offers to cover $2 billion in NASA costs in exchange for astronaut lunar lander contract. Basically he's saying that we're not deferring payments. He's like, you can spend up to $2 billion with my company, and I'm not going to bill you. Just give us the contract.
Is that kind of bribery? That just sounds like bribery.
Well, he's not giving them like money in their pockets. He's just saying he'll fund the program.
You can get more moon rocks with my money.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're building a lander, so they could literally get moon rocks with that money.
Imagine that he's planning tax write-off. There's probably a tax loophole where it's like NASA's not going to pay for it, but he's also going to be able to write that off of his income for tax purposes.
How much was his penis rocket flight? Did he pay $2 billion for that, or was it more, you think?
No, it was way less than that. Now, the whole program leading up to that might have been,
way more, yeah.
But that flight wasn't that much. Do you think that the Bezos kids are sitting at home reading this headline and be like, what? That's almost all of it.
That's our money.
Hasn't he agreed that they don't get a very big piece?
A very big piece, I think, is still probably like $100 million.
I think it might have been 10.
Still.
Which is 10 times what Trump got, right?
Yeah.
Small loan.
Chicago is famous, and it's not just Chicago. There's like 6 or 7 cities that have this. There's one out west, maybe San Francisco. But the shot detector, if a gunshot goes off in Chicago, you got all these microphones that can sort of triangulate where it is, and they can supposedly tell the difference between fireworks and guns and a misfiring car and stuff like that. But like most things in Chicago, it seems to have been corrupted.
Police are telling ShotSpotter to alter evidence from gunshot-detecting AI. Prosecutors in Chicago are being forced to withdraw evidence generated by the technology which led to the police killing of 13-year-old Adam Toledo earlier this year. This story, I was reading this and I was thinking about the story from Detroit and the black guy that got arrested because of really bad facial recognition. It's like, this is, the rabbit hole of technology misuse that should go down. ShotSpotter is not bad technology, But if you combine that technology with bad policing, it's much worse policing. And this is the kind of this is sort of the theme this week in a lot of our stories, is that the technology is not the savior. The technology is a crutch for turning your brain off, and that's the danger that we face.
A corrupting influence.
I don't think this is that. I think this is like literally shaping the facts to fit our conclusion. So here's the timeline. The shot goes off, the ShotSpotter picks it up, but this was during some of the protests, so there were a lot of fireworks going off because they were throwing fireworks at the cops. And the ShotSpotter categorized it as firework. So it also noted a location. Later, somebody came along and said, you know what, I don't think that was a firework. I think that was a gun. So they changed it to gun. This all gets audited in the system. Then again later, someone came along and said, I don't think that happened in the location that the ShotSpotter thought it happened. I think it happened at this location where this kid's car was. So, I mean, that just seems like fakery.
Yeah.
There's one or two people that are just like, I'm convinced this is what happened. I'm going to make it so. And then other people who are like, well, the technology says it, and they're not looking at it too closely.
Yeah. Oh, and
This has 3 edits in the last hour.
Don't worry about that.
But it was apparently like the internal ShotSpotter team that was making the changes, but presumably at the behest of the tech
You
guys.
get a call, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, let me help train your system.
So that's disconcerting if you live in Chicago. But not even nearly toward the top of the list of things that you should be disconcerted about.
Remember when we were reporting on the guy with the breathalyzer, and he was like, can I see the source code for how this is computed? And they're like, you know what? Just the DUI, that's going to go away.
Yeah.
Weird how that works.
It's just a random number generator. Well, some bad news in the crypto space. One of the worst things that can happen in cryptocurrency world is a big fraud goes down and people get spooked and they're like, oh, it's too dangerous, let me get out.
Bloomberg is reporting that Tether executives are said to face a criminal probe into bank fraud because it's cryptocurrency. And it's like, if you're somebody that's not familiar with the crypto world and you're on the outside looking in, I can see how you would think it looks a lot like fraud, even when it's not actually fraud. But you sprinkle in a little bit of greediness, and then it's like,
But you know what does seem like actual fraud, like really easy to prove actual fraud?
Nikola founder Trevor Milton has been indicted on 3 counts of fraud. Remember the downhill truck where they
They didn't Photoshop it. They just took it at a good angle.
They carefully chose a road, and it goes beyond the pale a little bit, but yeah.
Choosing good angles, like an Instagram model.
So they presume that he held $8.5 billion worth of stock at the height of the value. And then he sold a bunch of that fraudulently, and they're going to try to claw back $1 billion. Now, he probably didn't make the whole 8.5 because, it fluctuates, but I'm going to say he probably made, 4? It seems like he net $3 billion in this crime.
But there's going to be some criminal charges here, it sounds like. So.
Okay, how much prison time would you do for $3 billion?
Like 10 or 15, probably.
Really? You give away that much of your life?
I would have done 10 or 15 when I was 20.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're all getting up there now. We can't be wasting years of our lives like that.
The EU is, they have some really draconian copyright measures, but the thing about it is the EU as an entity is not the same as all the member states. And some of the member states are like, well, this is kind of crazy, right? Maybe we don't want to enforce this. And the EU says, you think you have a choice?
Reuters has the headline, Commission starts legal action against 23 EU countries over copyright rules. So I was thinking that this would be like, the EU is trying to balance individual rights and fair use with copyright. No, this is the mandatory copyright filter insanity. And the commission is saying, hey, you guys are taking a long time to implement this. And some of the rights holders are saying, you're not going far enough with this, which is insane.
Yeah, they want instant filtration. They want no pushback against the request to take things down. They pretty much want total control. And the kind of people that want that kind of thing are the kind of people that like the EU, and they're in charge. Good job, Europe. But over here, we have just as shameful a thing, just as stupid a government policy, and a lot of people are going to fall afoul of this, but most people will probably just accept it and suffer later.
Do you want your unemployment benefits? You may have to submit to facial recognition first. It's actually beyond that. When you read the headline, facial recognition was the last straw. You needed a photo ID and bills and some other paperwork and additional documentation and to interview somebody. And so this is just, there's a company that's doing facial recognition for California and a whole bunch of other states.
It's ID.me.
To try to cut down on fraud, because there's a rampant unemployment fraud right now.
Here's where it is.
That's a lot of places.
Look, we're not in there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty overwhelmingly blue states.
Tennessee?
Maybe
Florida?
not.
Texas?
So,
They have a lot of fraud and not a lot of money.
well, Florida's infamous for trying to crack down on the welfare fraud and having no success, just losing more money when they try to do it. So it's disgusting. And one guy pointed out that he was, like fiercely privacy focused, and he lost his job, had a pretty good job, and he kept trying to get his money, and they were just like, no, you got to do this thing. And he said, but there's got to be another way that I can prove. No, there's not. No other way. Which begs the question, what happens when that database goes down or gets stolen or ransomware?
The crazy thing is that not only that, but the craziest thing is if you are looking at data points for like the amount of money paid out for unemployment, it looks like you're doing better because you withheld a legitimate person's unemployment money. Like there's more money in the system. So it's the system's working.
But how do you think the amount saved, whether erroneously or not, compares to the amount spent with ID.me? We probably still lost money, right?
I don't know. That would be an interesting thing to research. We should go into research journalism.
But we got such a big, juicy facial database out of that.
Yeah, that's what
Totally
they're
worth
looking
it.
for.
They said they're not selling it or doing anything with it yet,
Right.
but then they were like,
sure.
well, what do you do with the data? It's like, well, we're retaining it. Don't worry. And it's like,
For a price, until they meet our price, and then we will happily sell it.
Speaking of governments behaving badly, Israel is they're under the old heat lamp because the NSO Group is an Israeli company, and Israel's kind of like, oh, we're going to look into this. But the thing about it is, the NSO Group, every sale was already under their version of the Department of Defense and had to be approved by the government. So they've already looked, and they thought it was okay.
we have a lot of security stories. This is about the Pegasus malware. Israel says, hey, what is it? The NSO Group Pegasus spyware. You have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide. Is that the story?
No, that's the next story, but it's the same idea. Oh, that's not the next story.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Missort chat.
Must have been in that must be in security.
Okay.
But Israel is saying like, oh, we're definitely going to look into this, but they already knew.
Oh yeah. So the NSO Group, I mean, it's the state, but they're making money. Like it would be kind of like our NSA selling stuff, but our Lockheed Martin and our Boeing can't sell missiles to Saudi Arabia without the Department of Defense approving that, right? That's how that works. It's the same kind of thing.
Right,
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know where these countries got these weapons that say U.S. Department of Defense.
The stuff that went to Morocco so they could spy on the French president was approved at the Israeli government level.
And looked at, yes. Like it wasn't just like sign some forms and do some stuff.
Yeah, someone actually looked at it on their desk.
Well, we accidentally sent nuclear material. Sorry.
So did you hear there's some nuclear material lost on its way to Michigan?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Oops.
But it wasn't like weaponized warhead stuff, right?
No, but it's still dangerous, and like just having it wandering around, they don't know where it is. It's like if someone opens that,
Some guy's got that in his shed.
yeah, where did it go?
It fell off the back of the truck.
Well, despotic governments all around, but I gotta say, China, number one? Is China number one?
Yeah.
When it comes to...
In PUBG, yeah.
Again, we have to look at ourselves, but I would say that in the last week or two, China has been doing some insane things in terms of cracking down, and I've agreed with almost all of them. I'm sure they're not doing this for the benefit of the people, but I think the
day.
people might get a little benefit from it.
China targets mobile pop-ups in latest tech crackdown. They're saying, oh, this isn't useful. It's taking your information and collecting it into a database that's not the state database. This is probably something we don't need as a people.
Sadly, the fix is probably going to be just switch to the state database.
Yeah.
Not stop doing it. But they probably wouldn't let a lot of the malware people, if you're not doing it to spy, then they won't let you do it. So the people who are doing it to steal may be stopped.
That's a silver lining way to look at it.
I don't know if it's silver. Maybe it's urine colored.
It's urine colored, but it's no longer poisonous.
It's just silver spray paint.
It'll make you sick. And Japan, you don't hear as much from Japan when it comes to technological advancements. And they used to be like the big everything. When you thought about cutting edge tech, Japan was really in the running.
Yeah, in the 90s.
And they're kind of feeling it, and they're thinking, what can we do to get back on top?
Japan pitches Society 5.0 to keep its edge in tech and science. It's going to promote wearable cyborgs. Yeah, that's a quote from the article, wearable cyborgs. But also looking at like where the future of technology is going and how it's going to enable better.
They had some pictures of the exoskeletons, which do look really cool.
The exoskeletons for the elderly people, I got the feeling that a lot of this technology was like, we're not going to have enough people to take care of the elderly people. What are we going to do? And the elderly person exoskeleton really seemed pretty awesome.
But I think that probably speaks to why they're in this mess as well.
Yeah.
How do you get innovation when everybody skews toward 50? That's like the median. So, interesting. Now, they say it's 5.0. Do you think they mapped out the previous versions? Like, where were we at 3? What year was that?
3 only came about because of World War II. Sorry.
I got to think.
Too soon.
I think maybe that was version 0 for then. Let's not talk about what happened before then. And the Pegasus spyware, it turns out, was really popular, and a lot of governments are going back and looking through the books, finding some embarrassing things.
Mexico says officials spent $61 million on the Pegasus spyware. Now, you might not realize this, but there's a lot of corruption in Mexico. The drug cartels basically run everything. And that's really $61 million was spent by the drug cartels to track down journalists, rivals, and that kind of thing, which is a lot.
So not the current president. This was Felipe Calderon and Enrique Peña Nieto. I hope I pronounced those correctly. The 2 previous presidents. So I don't think that they would admit if the current administration had done it, but they're happy to admit that these guys did it. Yeah.
But they're gone now, so it's fine.
And the cartels aren't in control anymore, right?
Now, remember, the NSO Group said they only use this against terrorists. But here's an article where it's like, well, we identified some journalists and some political rivals and some random kid.
Yeah, so they might be fibbing a bit when they say that. And we have yet another giant government database. And guess what happened to it?
Estonia, no, you were the chosen one. Estonia says a hacker downloaded 286,000 ID photos from a government database by exploiting a vulnerability.
I do have to say, though, I feel like Estonia is being more honest about it than most other governments would. Don't you think?
That's true. I think other governments would use the NSO spyware to hunt down anybody that reported on it.
But this is a lot of information. It's not just a photo. It's a lot of details about you. It's really bad. So, yeah, the timeline, they saw too many queries on the 16th, and now, by the end of the month, we know. How long did it take Equifax?
Yeah.
So I think we could still give Estonia a little bit of a pat on the head here.
The Equifax servers were ordering Domino's pizzas for months before they figured it out.
Thailand always gives us really great stories because they have that king, and it's a new king now. And people actually dislike this king more than the old one. But don't say that. Good Lord, don't say that.
Fearmongers targeted under a new Prayut, under Prayut new order, is I guess what
Terrible
this is.
Headline.
Yeah, so you can be labeled a fearmonger and arrested and jailed.
And the description of this is so vague. I mean, how could you not fall afoul of this if they wanted you.
It prohibits anyone from reporting news or disseminating information that may frighten people or intentionally distorting information to cause a misunderstanding about the emergency situation, which may eventually affect, state security.
There's a lot of mays in that statement.
Order or good morality of the people.
But some people are never not frightened.
So they would send a memo to the NSO Group and be like, little Timmy has been making YouTube videos criticizing dear leader, and we think that they're a terrorist. We need the NSO software.
And the other problem with this, and this is a big problem when you have these regimes where the people at the top cannot be told no. Like, everybody down the ladder just is terrified to say anything other than yes, sir. And they don't understand, and they declare this thing, but in the infrastructure in Thailand, the routers for the ISPs generally give you a fresh IP every reboot. But this is 100% IP based.
Oh, no.
That's going to be some false positives.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the SWAT teams
They don't.
will have that understanding.
They won't.
Yeah. So.
Maybe the people who order the SWAT teams will have that understanding.
I don't like the chances.
It's going to be a much more deathier version of the 80-year-old grandma $2 million RIAA lawsuit that we had here.
A sadder version. Yeah, for sure. More tragic. Well, Facebook, they had their big conference call, and they beat expectations in terms of their numbers, but there was a big exception that Zuckerberg had to admit, and the market's not really very happy about that.
Facebook's slowdown warning hangs over strong ad sales while Zuckerberg talks metaverse. So Facebook turned in their quarterly numbers, stock market and investors, Wall Street, financial stuff, real excited. But he said, we're going to experience negative growth, something like that. I forget what the quote was.
Yeah, the Apple thing is definitely hanging above their head like that sword of Damocles.
Yeah.
And well, at least they're being honest about it, right?
Yeah.
Don't lie to your shareholders. You can lie to everybody else, but don't lie to your shareholders.
Zuckerberg's like, I have, seen what Elon Musk has done, and I will not do what he did.
And you get the impression that when they're preparing for this presentation, he was sitting there and he was like, I can't just go out there with these numbers. I got to have something else to talk about. What are we going to talk about to distract from this? And I think this is what they come up with last minute.
Facebook creates a new unit to build a metaverse. This is going to be augmented reality. So now maybe the virtual reality headset makes sense.
What a strange stock image. Anyway.
That might be where they were demonstrating the AR stuff.
Wow. Why would I ever want that?
Although there's a shadow on his arm. Maybe not. Maybe that's an actual thing. I don't know. But yeah, they don't have a ton of details about this, but they do have a new set of glasses that are coming out.
Because augmented reality is the hot new thing.
And the metaverse apparently is going to be a 3D space, maybe augmented reality, where that's like the new social media. That's where we will get together.
I'm imagining like you're on the local news comments and they're always like insane, but they're popping up around you and you can't escape them.
I don't know. I think that's definitely going to be one of those technologies that we're going to be too old to adopt. Don't you think?
Yeah. Well, you have to buy a special piece of tech just to engage with it.
Well, it'll be VR or AR. So. And Facebook has decided once again to crack down on terrorism, and they are opening up the definition of terrorism.
Facebook and tech giants to target attacker manifestos, far-right militias in database.
So,
guess your Facebook gun club is not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I would say it'll probably be deleted, and you will go on a list.
Deleted.
As if you weren't already on a list.
But if you're, like anti-government, like black pill type of person, and you're on Facebook, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But that's where all my friends are.
I gotta get on the WKYT comments and post.
Well, would you rather have them go there or Parler?
Is Parler still operational?
I mean, Parler is a lot less safe for their information hygiene.
I would rather them tunnel into our secure server and edit a text file.
Chatting to each other through VI.
Because how else are you going to avoid the FBI? I mean, come on, let's be realistic, people. There are a ton of new. You ever use Locals?
Yeah.
I don't understand exactly what Locals is.
It's kind of like a social network, but it's kind of like Twitter. It's a lot like Twitter.
But do you have to be in their general area?
No, you don't have to be.
Okay.
Was that just like a way to find out information of stuff that's going on in your community?
I think it's supposed to be more like current event type stuff, right? Like this is happening right now, which is exactly what this is. But this one adds a little bit of a twist that some people don't care for.
Citizen is now paying New Yorkers to live stream crimes. And this is not the first time Citizen has been caught doing this kind of thing. One time I think they placed a $30,000 arrest bounty on somebody the police wanted for questioning, who later turned out to be completely innocent of the crime that the police were interested in them for.
What a good use of our money.
That was an arson investigation, yeah. So they have posted job applications. If you want to be a street team lead in LA, journalism jobs. So basically what they want to do is they want you out hunting crime and filming it. It's not illegal.
What's the pay like for those jobs, I wonder? There's an apply now button there.
That's just a image.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what it pays, but probably not great, right? It's probably
probably nothing. And so it's like, do I really want to go into dangerous neighborhoods looking for crime?
probably like a
do I want to be the snitch for no money?
A commission. Oh, $25 per hour. That's not too bad.
In Los Angeles or New York?
That was in New York.
Here, that would be great.
You think that's $25 per hour that you're streaming, or can that also include hunting time?
I wonder if it's like Uber, where it's like your hunting time, but the phone is like, they didn't really do much hunting. We're not going to pay for that.
Probably, yeah. I don't know. There are people who have Twitch channels that are totally dedicated to, like, when there's unrest, they run to it.
That channel that you sent me that was just like those people that were hanging out in front of a fence that were on drugs or whatever in front of that guy's property, that was fascinating.
The Everett, Washington meth stream.
Yeah.
That worked. They left finally. He won.
Wow.
Well, it is interesting. I enjoy watching those kind of streams.
Yeah, there's a voyeurism aspect to that that's really strong.
It's like I need to install an extra monitor just so I can have that. just to keep an eye on things.
You should live stream the dumpster. Because usually
it's not going to be here much longer.
People are in and out of that all the time.
But the dumpster doesn't get all day action.
That's true.
You'd have to curate that, cut it down. Yeah. Well, Facebook is clearly, when Facebook is faced with, we're going to lose money, obviously there have been some meetings, right? There's been some furious idea boarding. And I have a feeling that this was one of the main ones. They were like, okay, we can make that work. We can gain some ground there.
Facebook wants you to connect with God on Facebook.
Nowhere else.
They can get a cut of that, mega pastor thing.
So they interviewed this one guy, and he told them, he was like, yeah, I was going to open up a church, and I was talking to some other people about that. Like, how do you open up a church? And they were like, well, here's some resources. And somehow he got hooked up with Facebook. And by the end of it, he had a mega church. I don't know if they got involved in that or whatever, but they were like, oh, well, were there like financial details? What can you tell us about that? Non-disclosure agreement. Which I think when Jesus was on the cross, he talked about those, right? He was for those.
Pretty sure he made a whip. Not got a whip. He made a whip and beat the money changers out of the temple.
So, Krista, is that some kind of statement about Zuckerberg? Come on.
Beat him out of the temple.
You can't say that, Krista.
I don't know if he would feel the whip flays, though, because, he's got that robot flesh.
Is he Jewish first or robot first? Where is his true commitment? So, yeah, that's kind of terrifying. My parents do. Well, I think, Krista, you said you did some during the lockdown, right?
Yeah, like the
Facebook
online
church
stuff, yeah.
What do you feel like? How does it compare?
It's fine. I kind of prefer in person, but I'm still not doing in person yet.
Anything fun happen? Like, I guess you can only see the one camera during that.
Yeah,
time.
they usually what every church that I've seen do it. They do they just put a phone up basically, and then they'll have like a little mic hooked into it, and then they just record the stage. So it's not like a big production.
How's their audio quality?
Not great. Almost no church has that down yet.
I guess they're not running their mic into the feed, right? They're just picking up with another mic.
Yeah, so like you're getting all the echo because usually it's in like a larger space and there's not a lot of people in there. And
could this be a business opportunity?
yeah, they want us to work on their audio.
Here's your mini mega church kit.
I don't think anyone wants us working on their audio.
Oh, but in that case, you just run the because they all use a microphone these days, right? Is anybody just doing regular voice power churching?
Only small churches, like little churches, will do that. But usually, any church that has like a larger space has to have a mic, because otherwise the pastor's like scream the whole time.
Yeah, you just got to run that mic into the feed first. We'll take care of you.
But if you're doing worship style too, though, you've got to have enough to like pick up the music. You don't just want to hear the singer.
Worship style.
Yeah, like you got people singing songs and playing
What's
instruments.
the alternative?
I'm saying you can't just hook one mic up.
No, but I mean, like, what are the other churches doing? Praying mantis style? What's
Some churches don't sing.
So
or they'll have like a choir, or maybe they will just have one person singing.
So we call that non-worship? I don't understand how it's singing.
Okay.
No, I'm literally curious. Like, is there a word for we don't sing here?
Not that I know of. Some people just don't.
Classic style? Church classic.
Most churches do. I think there are a few that don't.
We got 2 stories left, so you can't comment yet. And we have learned that YouTube does not... It used to be that YouTube was like, all right, you're a leader of the world. We're going to let you do what you want. But the orange man has broken the seal, and now they don't care anymore.
YouTube just punished Brazil's president for spreading lies about the thing that we still can't say because the algorithm. Woo!
Look, that's a very unflattering photo.
Rio de Janeiro. Yeah.
So
they said, we'll delete your channel if you do it again.
He got busted for saying that there were cures that are not actual cures. That's what YouTube said. And I was like,
what happened to the cow urine thing?
Yeah, I was like, is this the cow urine? Are we back? What is he suggesting? Well, he's suggesting those actual drugs that we also can't say because any video with those words in them will be banned. But, like the actual drugs that a lot of people argue can treat it, he's saying that you could use those. And YouTube is saying no. They haven't banned him. They've just deleted videos. They say next time it'll be 2 weeks. The time after that, he's done. Will he join Parler? Or what's the Rumble? I see a lot of Rumble links.
Oh, yeah, Rumble.
In the Twitch chat. That's like the right-wing YouTube, I guess. And this headline, when you read it, you think, oh, were they trying to say that they don't work? No. This was much worse than that. This wasn't like pro versus anti-vax. This was just somebody trying to make more money.
YouTubers who blew the whistle on an anti-vax plot. So, some channels were offered a deal by an agency. It was like, hey, cover this thing, cover this in this way, do this thing. And it's like, wait a minute, some YouTubers don't operate that way. And so they blew the whistle on that to say that, this is not how it works. But also, this is disinformation. So, yes, there is disinformation out there on this kind of thing.
Hopefully that was just the video driver.
Ooh,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Yeah, so the specific disinformation was that there was a far higher death rate among the Pfizer vaccine than among the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Yeah, that's not true.
Not true at all. So clearly this wasn't like anti-vaxxers. It seems like only one entity would benefit from this, wouldn't you say?
Russia?
AstraZeneca is the one I was thinking of.
Just from the chaos. It's like agents of chaos. It's like we'll benefit from any chaos.
But if you were going to try to sow chaos, wouldn't you try to stop them from getting it?
No, you gotta, in order to tear that down, you have to start with something that's like very small, and it's like, that seems weird, and then it'll snowball from there.
And we did see that they had the blood clot issue.
Yeah.
But it was the other direction.
Yeah.
So they were trying to save. I still think it was them. I think they were responsible. That's the Occam's razor explanation.
Post your conspiracy theory below.
And the ad agency involved, they're going to take some heat because they've dealt with other campaigns before, and it's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
God, it would suck if an ad agency lost their integrity.
Lost something they never had.
And finally, this has to do with the whole Chinese situation, because China is really, really cracking down on tech companies. And we talked about last week, the big billionaires are like, give money to everybody. Just donate to everything. We have to satisfy them, please, please. And now some of the big companies are saying, all right, whatever we got to do, just do not be the next person on this list, the next company that
the
goes
next
down.
billionaire that goes to jail for 18 years.
I don't care. Just shut it all down if you have to. I do not want to do this.
Tencent's WeChat suspends new user registration for quote-unquote security compliance. So this is the rules where if you sign up and you're in this region, your data has to be stored on these specific servers in these specific geographic regions, so that in order the National Security Organization can peruse those servers at their leisure.
And we can only assume, based on this reaction, that they weren't doing that. And it's going to take a little while for them to do that.
It's like, please don't hurt us. We'll just stop taking new customers and work on this, okay? See, it's an earnest effort, I promise.
There's some developer there who's just like, they have to like stop whatever projects they're working on just to get rerouted to this.
He calls his robot, and he says, "I'm not going to be home tonight, sweetie."
This is the nicest.
No,
this is
no.
No,
We
we
have
gotta
one
wait for the
more
next.
No.
That's it.
Next footage. Next
Next day.
Next day,
next
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Okay, never mind. You'll have to wait.
This is a zero sugar orange cream soda.
What could it possibly taste like? Find out tomorrow.
Find out tomorrow.
Bye.
We'll get so many new Patreon subs because of that. Thank you. And Floatplane subs.
Yes.
We'll see you tomorrow.